After cruising across the country at the start of our trip, we found ourselves really enjoying life in the van, bouncing around from town to town, and especially the warm weather in this winter. And the trip was just beginning. What's going on? My name is Zach Kenny, and this is our van Hoagie. For over a decade now, my wife and I have dreamt of having a rig of our own. And after countless adventures, both big and small, and of course, the record-breaking Utah winter of 2023, we finally decided to trade in that faithful Tacoma for this Ford Transit 350. And after building the van out to be a place that we could live, work, eat, and explore with, we finally hit the road. So follow along because, simply put, adventure doesn't find you. Continuing on the trip after dropping off Courtney's parents at the Fort Meyers airport, we jetted back down south to the Keys for one last weekend so that we could go scuba diving. Sadly, I forgot my GoPro housing and I really couldn't capture any of the dive. But we did capture some sunset coronas, and that's just as good. Of course, we would have loved to stay longer, but it's just way too pricey down there, especially during the peak season, so we had to go find a place up north. And as it turns out, spontaneous camping is really hard to come by in Florida during winter. Who would have guessed? Therefore, we had to find a more semi-permanent spot for the week, so we booked a small Airbnb in the town of Pompano Beach on the east coast of Florida, just north of Fort Lauderdale. Somewhere between the sleepy beach town and luxury beachfront condos, this town is a great stopover for the week since we really had to get some work done. But being able to walk around town, especially with Gregor, was a blast. Plus, this was another great place to take the road bike out for a spin.
I don't know what town I'm in. These houses are huge, and they have massive docks across the road.
I could not get over how warm it was down here during winter. These temperatures are what we get during our peak summers in Utah. The houses in this part of the country are beyond massive and beautiful, which definitely makes up for all the traffic on the roads. When we weren't working, we did our best to get out and explore. Whether it was walks along the canal, checking out the iguanas hanging out in the trees, or out to the Pompano Beach Pier. Even one night, we made the trek over the Atlantic Boulevard Bridge to check out the delicious beer at 26 Degree Brewing, and the resident brewery dog, of course. But our time in Pompano Beach was fantastic. To be honest, I would definitely come back here, and I'm actually really excited to stop by again. As the week came to an end, we headed to the west coast of Florida, where we were able to stop by and see my parents who were on vacation in Naples before heading up north to Fort Meyers Beach to do what we came here for. That was to celebrate Courtney's birthday. Before all the festivities could begin, we took Gregor out onto the beach, which is one of the rare places in Florida that dogs were allowed on the beach, and he was having an absolute blast. The overcast skies were not raining on his parade. I think he would have stayed there the entire day, chasing us, throwing shells, and running out into the water. I think he really enjoyed the fact that the ocean didn't have crashing waves, so he was able to get out and swim as much as he wanted. After Gregor had his fill, we dried him off and put him back in the van so that we could go out and rented Jetskis for Courtney's birthday present. These skis ripped across the calm Gulf waters with ease. For a couple hours, we blasted around the shores, each taking turns at the helm. Now, although there wasn't much to see out there, especially on this gloomy, overcast day, we actually did get to see a pod of dolphins swimming through. But otherwise, we were just ripping around as best we could and had so much fun. Eventually, our time on the jet skis had to end, but that was just in time for Courtney's friends to show up and the fun to begin. Over the weekend, we wandered up and down the beach bars during a rare, sunny Saturday for a historically rainy January. Whether it was a pop-up beach bar or the massive Margaritaville, we stopped everywhere we could. Being outside in January like this was such an unfamiliar feeling to all of us, and we loved every second of it, especially being able to share it with friends like this. by the end of the night, we crashed a Quiet Bars live band and really turned it up. Definitely a weekend we'll never forget. Nursing a hangover, we didn't make it far up the coast before our next stop, to the sleepy town of Venice. But no, this is not a random destination to sleep it off. We were here on a mission to search for shark's teeth. Yep, for whatever reason, this is a hot spot to find them. And though I had absolutely no luck, Courtney found 3 shark's teeth in excellent condition. This is probably the wildest thing we've ever found on the beach. I still can't get over the fact that this place has fossilized shark teeth, and everybody comes here to search for them and seems to have luck. With just a little bit more driving up north to do along the coastline, we landed in Crystal River, a place known for their turquoise waters that manatees come spend their winter months in as they swim out of the cool Gulf waters. This little watering hole brings all sorts of creatures in during the day, but mostly tourists come here hoping to catch a glimpse of the sea cows gently floating in the clear, shallow waters. And by sea cows, I obviously mean manatees. The best parts were getting to see the small calves swimming with their moms. No doubt, this is not something I ever expected to see in Florida, let alone this far from the Everglades. There are tons of tours that run out of here where you can actually get on kayaks and go near them outside of the Three Sisters area where the manatees come into. But we were only here for the day and we had to work for most of it, so we were able to just wander around the boardwalks and catch these beautiful creatures just from the edges. Balancing the need to eventually return to Utah and stopping along the way at all the places we want to. Admittedly, our next stop was not somewhere I had ever expected to go, but we were able to find camping in Florida in January, so we jumped on the opportunity. Our destination was to one of the spring break hotspots of Florida, Pensacola Beach. Fortunately for us, it was not during spring break, and we were staying outside of town by about 9 miles on the Gulf Island National Seashore. Passing along on a narrow strip of land separated from the Gulf by some sandy dunes, the desolation of this place was shocking to say the least. Seeing the overdevelopment everywhere in Florida that we'd been yet, I would not have expected to see that this place could still exist. Barren, white sandy beaches extending for miles to the horizon. Of course, we caught some bad weather while we were here, so I can only imagine how gorgeous this place would be in the summer. At the far end of the island, at the mouth of the Pensacola Bay, stood the historic Fort Pickens. The military fort built back in 1834 still stood mostly strong, but it's a shell of its former glory. One of the few forts that remained in the Union hands during the Civil War in the South. It was used up until World War II to fend off potential attacks from U-boats that operated in the Gulf. But of course, Gregor doesn't care about history, and all he really wanted to do was get back to the beach so he can chase us around and be free on these empty beaches at the dog area closer to town. And though our time in Florida was coming to an end, we still had so much more left on this trip and so much more things to see and do. And that's what led us to Alabama, Texas, New Mexico, and then eventually back to Utah.